There's a southern city where Miami-Dade County alone recorded a net domestic outflow of 67,418 residents in 2024, the worst of any U.S. county classified as high flood risk, where the average home insurance premium hit $7,562 in 2026, where the condo market shed $109 billion in value in a single month, and where the marketing brochure still describes it as the perfect place to relocate. The city is Miami. And it's not even alone on this list. Across the American South, the migration story of 2026 has been quieter and stranger than the headlines suggest. Not the boom that dominated 2020 to 2022. The reversal. The southern cities where in-migration has decelerated or reversed, where climate and insurance pressures have compounded, and where the working-age arrivals have stopped showing up at the volumes local economies were built around. According to Census Bureau Vintage 2025 estimates released in March 2026, multiple southern metros experienced sharp deceleration in net domestic migration or outright reversal in 2024-2025. According to Redfin analysis, high flood risk areas of the United States recorded a net domestic outflow of 29,027 people in 2024. According to Insurance.com carrier filings, home insurance premiums in southern coastal and inland markets have climbed 40% to 90% since 2022. According to Brookings Metro analysis of Vintage 2025 estimates, several southern cities that gained population in 2020 and 2022 have flattened or reversed. And underneath those numbers, the pattern is not subtle. In-migration decelerating. Insurance carriers exiting or repricing. Property values reversing. Working age arrivals thinning. In this countdown, we're exposing 10 southern cities no one is moving to anymore. One city on this list posted the worst single-county domestic outflow in America in 2024. Another has been operating under water infrastructure crisis for years. A third saw the median home price drop 9% in a single quarter. A fourth had its population decline outright while the state was still growing. Subscribe before your city's next census update. Let's break it down. Number 10. Louisville, Kentucky. The Derby City, where population growth has flattened, where the migration to Nashville and Indianapolis has continued, and where the aggregate stability obscures sustained working-age contraction. There's a city where population growth has flattened in 2024 to 2025, where the working-age migration to Tennessee and Indiana has been documented, where manufacturing employment continues to restructure, and where the median household income has stagnated relative to home price growth. Welcome to Louisville. The numbers. Louisville population growth flattened in 2024 to 2025 per Census Vintage 2025. Louisville working-age migration to Nashville and Indianapolis has been sustained. Louisville median home price has climbed alongside broader Southeast trends. Louisville manufacturing employment continues to face restructuring pressure. Louisville median household income has stagnated relative to Nashville growth. What it's like. Living in Louisville is like dating someone genuinely charming whose bourbon reputation is stronger than their financial trajectory. Picture this. You're a 46-year-old Louisville resident in 2026. Your neighborhood has multiple homes for sale that have not moved. Your neighbor at the manufacturing plant accepted a buyout package. Your friend moved to Nashville in 2024 for work. Your kids are researching Charlotte for graduate programs. Where it gets uncomfortable. Louisville's structural problem is that the aggregate growth story has depended on modest natural increase while working-age migration has flowed outward. The population is stable in aggregate. The working-age base is contracting. The aggregate stability obscures. The underlying compression. The Kentucky to Tennessee migration corridor has expanded year over year. Sharp contrast. Louisville and Nashville are both Middle America cities. Nashville has grown its population substantially since 2010. Louisville has stabilized but not grown at comparable rates. Same region, opposite trajectories. Number 9. Mobile, Alabama. the port city where population has been essentially flat for years, where the coastal insurance pressure has intensified, and where the aggregate growth has depended on modest natural increase. There's a city where population has been essentially flat for over a decade, where coastal insurance premiums have climbed alongside broader Gulf trends, where the median home price has climbed while wages have not, and where the aggregate migration has been modest. Welcome to Mobile. The numbers. Mobile population has been essentially flat for over a decade per census data. Mobile area home insurance climbed roughly 60% between 2022 and 2025 per Insurify. Mobile median home price has climbed alongside broader Gulf trends. Mobile working age outmigration has been sustained. Mobile median home price has climbed while insurance costs have doubled. What it's like. Living in Mobile is like dating someone with real Southern charm, whose insurance premiums keep multiplying while their income doesn't. Picture this. You're a 51-year-old Mobile resident in 2026. Your home insurance quote arrived 60% higher than 3 years ago. Your neighbor sold to a corporate buyer specifically because carrying costs had become unmanageable. Your kids left for Nashville and Atlanta years ago. Your local school district faces enrollment pressure, where it gets uncomfortable. Mobile's structural problem is that the Gulf coastal insurance repricing has compressed household budgets while migration has moderated. The insurance keeps repricing. The working age outflow continues. The population stagnates. The tax base does not expand. Sharp contrast. Mobile and Huntsville's are both Alabama cities. Huntsville has grown its population substantially through federal-adjacent employment. Mobile has continued to stagnate. Same state, opposite trajectories. Number 8. Little Rock, Arkansas. The Rock City where population has declined outright in recent years, where fiscal pressure has continued, and where the working-age migration to northwest Arkansas and other regions has been sustained. There's a city where population declined outright in 2024-2025, where the fiscal architecture has been under sustained structural pressure, where the working-age migration to northwest Arkansas and Texas has been documented, and where the aggregate growth story tested structurally. Welcome to Little Rock. The numbers. Little Rock population declined outright in 2024 to 2025 per census vintage 2025. Little Rock area home values have moderated relative to northwest Arkansas growth. Little Rock fiscal architecture has been under sustained structural pressure. Little Rock working age migration to northwest Arkansas and Texas has been sustained. Little Rock aggregate demographic contraction has accelerated in 2024 to 2025. What it's like. Living in Little Rock is like dating someone quietly interesting whose younger siblings all moved to the more popular siblings' town. Picture this. You're a 49-year-old Little Rock resident in 2026. Your neighborhood has multiple vacant properties. Your neighbor at the state government accepted an early retirement package. Your friend moved to Bentonville in 2023 for work. Your kids are considering Dallas and Austin, where it gets uncomfortable. Little Rock's structural problem is that even within Arkansas, the population and economic activity has shifted toward the Northwest. The Northwest is growing. Little Rock is contracting. The tax base is not expanding. The migration outflow continues. Sharp contrast. Little Rock and Bentonville are both Arkansas cities. Bentonville has grown substantially through Walmart-adjacent economic activity. Little Rock has contracted. Same state, opposite trajectories. Hey, before we get into the top 7, the cities we're about to cover are the ones where the southern migration reversal has been most extensively documented in Census Bureau Vintage 2025 estimates, in Redfin flood risk migration data, and in Insurify carrier filings. If this list has been useful, hit subscribe, because the next one is 10 American cities where the property tax bill just doubled, and you'll want to see if your city is on the list. Like the video if you live in a southern city and have watched neighbors leave for Nashville or Charlotte. Drop a comment if your southern city just posted another year of population stagnation. Now let's keep going. Number 7. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The red stick, where population has been essentially flat for over a decade, where the petrochemical corridor has been under regulatory and economic pressure, and where hurricane exposure continues to compound insurance costs. There's a city where population has been essentially flat for over a decade, where the petrochemical corridor has been under regulatory pressure, where hurricane exposure continues, and where the aggregate migration has stagnated. Welcome to Baton Rouge. The numbers. Baton Rouge population has been essentially flat for over a decade. Baton Rouge area home insurance premiums climbed among the highest rates in America. Baton Rouge petrochemical corridor employment has been under sustained pressure. Baton Rouge working-age migration to Texas and other regions has been sustained. Baton Rouge median home price has moderated relative to Texas alternatives. What it's like. Living in Baton Rouge is like dating someone with real Cajun charm whose insurance premium keeps arriving with new numbers nobody planned for. Picture this. You're a 44-year-old Baton Rouge resident in 2026. Your home insurance quote arrived at $6,400 for the year. Your neighborhood absorbed damage from Hurricane Francine. Your neighbor accepted a job in Houston in 2024. Your kids are considering Nashville. Where it gets uncomfortable. Baton Rouge's structural problem is that the twin pressures of insurance repricing and petrochemical corridor evolution have compressed the migration story. The insurance climbs. The petrochemical employment moderates. The migration outflow continues. The aggregate stability obscures the underlying compression. Sharp contrast. Baton Rouge and Houston are both Gulf Coast cities. Houston has continued to grow through diversified employment. Baton Rouge has stagnated. Same Gulf region, very different economic outcomes. Number 6. Jackson, Mississippi. The bold new city where the water infrastructure crisis of 2022 exposed decades of underinvestment, where population declined by over 25% since 1980, and where the fiscal architecture depends on state assistance to maintain basic services. There's a city where the water infrastructure crisis of 2022 exposed decades of underinvestment, where population has declined by over 25% since 1980, where fiscal architecture depends on state assistance, and where the sustained deterioration has produced sustained outmigration. Welcome to Jackson. The numbers. Jackson population declined from approximately 202,000 in 1980 to roughly 145,000 in 2025. Jackson water infrastructure crisis of 2022 required federal and state intervention. Jackson fiscal architecture depends heavily on state and federal support. Jackson working age migration to Memphis, Nashville, and Dallas has been sustained. Jackson aggregate population decline has continued for over 4 decades. Reddit, quote, Jackson is the city where you cannot rely on the tap water, cannot rely on the fiscal budget, and cannot rely on the population staying, and the local conversation. Still calls it a recovery story. What it's like. Living in Jackson is like dating someone who genuinely tried to recover and keeps discovering new problems from the previous decade. Picture this. You're a 55-year-old lifelong Jackson resident in 2026. Your neighborhood has multiple vacant properties. Your water utility bill arrived with a rate increase. Your friend moved to Memphis in 2023 for stable utilities. Your kids left for Atlanta years ago. Where it gets uncomfortable. Jackson's structural problem is that the water crisis exposed compounding infrastructure decay that decades of underinvestment produced. The infrastructure decayed, the population declined, the tax base compressed. The recovery depends on external support. Sharp contrast. Jackson and Nashville are both Middle America cities. Nashville has grown substantially since 2000. Jackson has continued to contract. Same region, opposite trajectories. Number 5. Montgomery, Alabama. The capital city where population declined by over 8% between 2010 and 2020, where the fiscal architecture has been under sustained pressure, and where the working-age migration to Nashville and Atlanta has been sustained. There's a city where population declined by over 8% in a decade, where fiscal architecture faces sustained pressure, where working age migration to Nashville and Atlanta has continued, and where the aggregate stability obscures sustained contraction. Welcome to Montgomery. The numbers. Montgomery population declined by over 8% between 2010 and 2020 per census data. Montgomery area home values have not kept pace with broader Southeast appreciation. Montgomery fiscal architecture has been under sustained pressure. Montgomery working age migration to Nashville and Atlanta has been sustained. Montgomery aggregate stability obscures sustained working age contraction. What it's like. Living in Montgomery is like dating someone with real Southern history whose neighborhood keeps quietly getting smaller. Picture this. You're a 52-year-old Montgomery resident in 2026. Your neighborhood has multiple vacant properties. Your neighbor at the state government accepted an early retirement. Your friend moved to Nashville in 2023 for work. Your kids left for Atlanta years ago. Where it gets uncomfortable. Montgomery's structural problem is that the population decline and fiscal pressure have compounded for over a decade. The population contracts. The tax base compresses. The working age migration continues. The service capacity narrows. Sharp contrast. Montgomery and Nashville are both Southeast cities. Nashville has grown substantially since 2010. Montgomery has contracted. Same region, opposite trajectories. Number 4, Birmingham, Alabama. The magic city where population has declined by over 60% since 1960, where the fiscal architecture faces sustained pressure, and where the outmigration to Nashville, Atlanta, and Huntsville has been sustained for decades. There's a city where population declined from over 340,000 in 1960 to roughly 197,000 in 2025, where fiscal architecture depends on state and county support, where working age migration has been sustained for decades, and where the recovery narratives have not produced durable results. Welcome to Birmingham. The numbers. Birmingham population declined from 340,000 in 1960 to approximately 197,000 in 2025, a loss of over 40%. Birmingham area home values have not kept pace with broader Southeast appreciation. Birmingham fiscal architecture depends heavily on external support. Birmingham steel industry contracted alongside broader Rust Belt patterns. What it's like. Living in Birmingham is like dating someone with real Southern industrial history whose economic base contracted decades ago. Picture this. You're a 55-year-old lifelong Birmingham resident in 2026. Your neighborhood has multiple vacant properties. Your neighbor at the hospital mentioned that staffing shortages continue. Your friend accepted a job in Huntsville in 2023. Your kids left for Nashville and Atlanta years ago. Where it gets uncomfortable. Birmingham's structural problem is that the steel industry contraction of the 1970s and 1980s produced a population decline that has never durably reversed. The industrial base contracted. The population declined. The tax base compressed. The recovery depends on external support. Sharp contrast. Birmingham and Huntsville are both Alabama cities. Huntsville has grown substantially through federal-adjacent employment. Birmingham has continued to contract. Same state, opposite trajectories. Number 3, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Florida. The waterfront wonderland where the median home price dropped 9% in Q1 2026, the largest quarterly decline in America, where Hurricane Ian damage exposed vulnerabilities the marketing minimized, and where the retirement migration has reversed. There's a metropolitan area where the median home price dropped 9% in Q1 2026 to $341,250, where Hurricane Ian damage of 2022 continues to affect insurance markets, where the retirement migration model has reversed, and where the compounding effect has produced the largest quarterly price decline of any metro in America. Welcome to Cape Coral, Fort Myers. The numbers. Cape Coral, Fort Myers median home price dropped 9% in Q1 2026, $341,250. $250 per NAR. Cape Coral Fort Myers absorbed Hurricane Ian damage in September 2022. Cape Coral Fort Myers home insurance premiums climbed substantially post-Ian. Cape Coral Fort Myers retirement migration has reversed from peak pre-pandemic levels. Cape Coral Fort Myers condo assessments post-hurricane produced substantial owner bills. What it's like. Living in Cape Coral Fort Myers is like dating someone who looked perfect on the brochure and turned out to have storm damage nobody wants to inherit. Picture this. You're a 71-year-old Cape Coral retiree in 2026. You moved from Michigan in 2016 for the affordability. Your home was damaged in Hurricane Ian. Your insurance premium tripled between 2020 and 2025. Your daughter is researching North Carolina for you, where it gets uncomfortable. Cape Coral Fort Myers' structural problem is that Hurricane Ian exposed insurance market vulnerabilities that the pre-storm marketing minimized. The storm arrived. The damage was substantial. The insurance carriers repriced. The retirement migration reversed. Sharp contrast. Cape Coral Fort Myers and Charlotte are both southeast retirement destinations. Charlotte has absorbed Cape Coral leavers. Cape Coral has been the source of the migration Charlotte has absorbed. Same region, opposite trajectories. Number 2. Memphis, Tennessee. The bluff city where population declined by an estimated 4,700 between 2020 and 2025, where the homicide rate ranks among the highest in America, and where the working age outmigration to Nashville has accelerated. There's a city where population has declined for multiple consecutive years, where the homicide rate remains among the highest in America, where the working age migration to Nashville has accelerated, and where the aggregate stability obscures sustained working age contraction. Welcome to Memphis. The numbers. Memphis population declined by an estimated 4,700 residents between 2020 and 2025. Memphis homicide rate ranked among the highest of any U.S. city with population over 500,000 in 2024. Memphis municipal budget has been under sustained structural pressure. Memphis working age outmigration has been concentrated among residents with portable skills. What it's like. Living in Memphis is like dating someone with real character and history whose entire friend group moved 3 hours east. Picture this. You're a 42-year-old lifelong Memphis resident in 2026. Your closest friend moved to Nashville in 2024. Your neighbor 2 houses down has been trying to sell for 14 months. Your municipal service response times have gotten longer year over year. Your kid's school district has faced budget pressure that produced program cuts. Where it gets uncomfortable. Memphis's structural problem is that Nashville's growth has functioned as a Memphis brain drain in ways the aggregate statistics obscure. The residents with portable skills leave first. The tax base compresses faster than the population would suggest. The service demand does not decline proportionally. Sharp contrast. Memphis and Nashville are both Tennessee cities. Nashville has gained residents at sustained rates since 2015. Memphis has continued to lose them. Same state, opposite trajectories, and the divergence has widened every year. Number 1. Miami, Florida. The magic city where Miami-Dade County recorded a domestic outflow of 67,418 residents in 2024, the worst of any U.S. county classified as high flood risk, and where the convergence of climate, insurance, condo, and migration pressures has produced the most documented urban migration reversal in America. There's a metropolitan area where Miami-Dade recorded a domestic outflow of 67,418 residents in 2024, where average insurance premiums reached $7,562 in 2026, where the condo market shed $109 billion in value in a single month in 2025, and where the compound effect has produced the most extensively documented urban migration reversal in America. Welcome to Miami. The numbers. Miami-Dade recorded a domestic outflow of 67,418 residents in 2024 per Redfin. Miami average home insurance premium reached $7,562 in 2026, the highest in America. Miami-Dade condo inventory hit 14.1 months in 2025. Miami Metro lost an estimated $109 billion in home value in a single month in 2025. Reddit quote, Miami is the city where the insurance is a second mortgage, the condo assessments are a third mortgage, and the residents who did the math left before anyone announced the reversal. What it's like. Living in Miami is like dating someone who looked perfect on the brochure and turned out to have structural deficiencies and a credits card statement they didn't disclose. Picture this. You're a 68-year-old retiree in Miami-Dade in 2026. You moved from Connecticut in 2018. Your insurance premium tripled between 2020 and 2025. Your HOA assessment after hurricanes Helene and Milton was $14,000. Your home value is down 7% from 2022. Your daughter is researching North Carolina for you. Where it gets uncomfortable. Miami's structural problem is the full convergence of every major urban migration reversal factor in a single metropolitan area. The climate risk was reassessed. The insurance carriers repriced or exited. The condo mandates produced six-figure assessments. The retirement migration model reversed. Sharp contrast. Miami and Charlotte are both southeast metros. Charlotte has absorbed Miami leaver migration in significant volume since 2024. Miami has been the source of the migration Charlotte has absorbed. Same region, opposite migration positions. So there it is. Southern cities, no one is moving to anymore. On the public record, in Census Bureau Vintage 2025 estimates, in Brookings Metro analysis, in Redfin flood risk migration data, in Insurance.com carrier filings. Cities where in-migration has decelerated or reversed. Cities where insurance carriers have exited or repriced. Cities where population decline has continued for decades. Cities where recovery narratives have circulated for years without producing durable results. Cities where the working age arrivals have stopped showing up. The southern cities gaining residents in 2026 share specific characteristics. They have functional insurance markets, growing economic bases, diversified employment, and demographic patterns that retain working age residents. The 10 cities on this list have varying combinations of opposite conditions. The in-migration slowed, the insurance repriced, the working age left. The residents who could move to Nashville, Raleigh, or Charlotte did so. If this list helped, share it with the friend who keeps insisting the South is where everyone still wants to be. Hit subscribe, because next we're breaking down 10 American cities where the property tax bill just doubled. Drop a comment if your southern city just posted another year of migration stagnation. And remember, the worst regional migration reversal isn't the loud one with the headlines. It's the quiet one, where the arrivals stop, the residents who could leave left, and Nashville absorbed the working age migration.